ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Brisker.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And etc.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Back with you and hope better than ever here on Bears Etc., the podcast version number 151. We're brought to you by Miller Lite with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. We got celebrity status, round 2. He is the co-host of The Kitchen on the Food Network, host of The Sandwich King, the podcast Come On Over, and he's running his own company, Mauro Provisions. He is Oak Park native, Bradley graduate, and lead guitarist of the band The Jewel Bags. Oh, yeah. Lot to discuss with Jeff Mauro in this episode. And first and foremost, the insider of us, Tom and I, this rarely has ever happened that we had to do a do-over. We had a technical flaw. So he sat with us for virtually an hour about a month ago, and he was willing to do this again because we couldn't air it. A technical difficulty. So, Jeff, accept our apologies and our graciousness for you joining us once again.
Jeff, Tom, it was such a pleasure the first go round that it was a gift. I look at this as an opportunity to do even a better job at being interviewed by you two fine legends and gentlemen. What the thing is, it's like you got to press play and record at the same time, not just record. That's the problem.
I deserve that, but that's not what happened. But I do deserve that, and you have the great benefit, Jeff. Christine. Keep asking me, oh my God, you can't just do it over. It's not going to be as good as the first time when it's. I go, good thing is Tom and I have short memories, so we don't remember anything from the first episode, right, Tommy?
Literally remember 6% of our previous interviews. So,
well, we enjoy.
I got a lot of different topics to talk about. I'm kind of glad that we have an opportunity to do a rerun because I got a lot on my mind for the royalty of all sandwiches and the Sandwich King.
All right, well then take it away, Big Tommy. What's first on your list?
So Jeff brought up the fact that you play guitar in a band. Okay, if Jeff Joniak, Jeff Mauro, and myself, we are going to a concert, and we are going to go to either a Pearl Jam, a Taylor Swift, or a Kenny Chesney. What concert are we going to?
Oh,
well,
I know where I'm going.
No, it's not a question for you.
Yeah, well, I would go to Pearl Jam. Out of those three, that's the music I know. Number 2 would be Taylor Swift by far. Just because, we could maybe make a last minute call and probably flip those tickets for about $3,000 a piece. And so we can bank that and go tour with Pearl Jam with the profit we make off that. But yeah, Kenny Chesney, I appreciate country music, but I was obsessed with Pearl Jam back in high school. I saw him, I went to a Pearl Jam concert at Soldier Field alone. That's how deep I was.
Wow.
In 88?
No,
because I was there. I was at the Pearl Jam concert at Soldier Field, it was probably 98.
95, maybe 94,
okay.
95. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was at that concert myself.
Just 2 dudes alone watching Pearl Jam. We could have found each other back then.
A different Tommy. Anytime he's in town, he gets backstage. So we can't compete with that. I love Pearl Jam too. Had a chance to meet him one time. I was out of my mind. It was wonderful at the lodge down by Rush Street over there. But Tommy's good friends with him. They're surfing buddies.
Well, next time you see him, you have to ask him if he remembers a story from that same era. It was that same tour. It was Milwaukee Fest. I went and saw him twice. I was in the fan club, so you get early tickets back then via mail order. And I was obsessed. And I had my grandpa, after he passed, I got his old Italian-American Sons of Italy hat, little Cupoline paperboy style hat that was red, white, and green, the colors of the Italian flag. And I'd wear it everywhere. But back then I had long, curly hair down to my shoulders because I was, grungy, hippie, whatever. I was just a dude about town. And I went to this concert and I managed to sneak down in the first row. And then I made friends with the security guards so they didn't kick me out both nights. So it was both the first night, Eddie Vedder swinging his microphone as he tends to do on the edge of the stage, singing Porch. I think that was the song, right? And he looks at me and he sees this guy with long hair and this goofy Italian-American hat on. And he points to me and he's like, throw it up, Eddie Vedder. And I was obsessed with Eddie. I threw my hat up. He put it on. He sung like 2 songs with this stupid hat on. And then he threw it back. And naturally, the whole crowd like just engulfed my hat. And it was lost in the masses. But since I was charming to the security guards and made them laugh, right? The great equalizer, humor. They like separated the crowd, grabbed my hat, and gave it right back to me.
Oh, that is a great story.
And he remembered me the second night and did the same thing with my hat.
Gosh.
So leaving the concert, I was like the hat. They're like, it's Hat Guy.
You still have that, I hope.
No, I don't. Oh, it's my greatest regret in life, other than not getting the chance to make out with this girl where I had the opportunity to when I was 16 years old on vacation. It was like a summer fling, and I just didn't seal the deal. My second greatest regret in life is that I do not have this hat anymore. It got lost in college or something. Who knows? I would have that thing in like a silicone, like a plexiglass mold.
In reference to your makeout session, do you sing the Grease song, Summer Lovin'?
Oh, that's all I ever wanted as a chubby kid and with no game. I just wanted that summer fling. It never happened for me. But yeah, that's why I always gravitated towards Grease.
So who do you watch now? Who you like going to see?
I just saw Dr. Dog, which is my favorite band in the world, at Red Rocks last week. I took a 24-hour trip to Denver and saw that. They're a great band out of Philly. They've been around for 20-something years. They're just a great group of guys. I'm a big Wilco fan, and then you go back as far as I love the Beatles. I love the Beach Boys. Name it, like some indie stuff, some rap, but even going back to Louis Prima, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, like those classics. We have a very wide array of music we listen to here in this house.
So, Jeff, I don't know if you're too young for this. A buddy of mine just flew over to England to see the Oasis concert. And they reformed after 16 years of being apart, and 75,000 fans each night. And I'm not a music guy, so there's songs I know, but I don't know that's Oasis. I know those guys. But that may be too young for you.
No, I love Oasis. That was during my formative years. I was in high school when they started coming out. But I'm going to the concert here at the United Center. So awesome. I'm excited. I think if they make it that far, those brothers are known for not getting along very well, fist fighting each other. And that's when the rock and roll is real.
This podcast is brought to you by the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller Time Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Your Bears fandom. When did it begin? When did it hatch? And are you excited about what's around the corner here with Ben Johnson and the fellas?
I'm very excited. Full disclosure, it's the only professional sports I watch is each week's Bears game. For some reason, I don't have space. I don't have room. I don't have the mental capacity for watching multiple sports during the course of the week. So I get very excited, and I'm passionate about the Bears. I think it started, again, 85, 86, Tom, when... I think everything in my life is food related, and I think we talked about this the first time, but I think it's such a core memory. It's those little cardboard playing cards, but they weren't like, baseball card size. They were bigger, all with the Chicago Bears players from the championship team during that season were released at McDonald's.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So those things, to me, it was like it was an excuse to get, a quarter pounder and a fries and a side of 20 piece. And I'd be like, I can, I'm just trying to collect, Mom. I'm just trying to support my team. But meanwhile, I'd just be, eating fast food, which to me was like the greatest combination. So it was that season for sure.
Did your cards go by the way of the hat, or do you still have any of the cards?
I'm so big. Now I'm like keeping everything, like every concert t-shirt for the last 15 years, I like meticulously put away. But like the hat is somewhere, I just don't know where. It was I think I lost it in college. Not your hats. My son's right next to me eating a bowl of meat. And he's really crushing my vibe here. Say hi, Lorenzo.
Hey, Lorenzo. How you feeling, buddy?
All right, get out of here.
What kind of meat is it? Did you make it?
Well, I made turkey bolognese last night, a giant pot. Just not because my wife started working last Monday. She's a nurse, so she went back to work part-time. She got a new fun job. She's working in the city. She's doing great. She's really happy. But like Monday and Tuesday, I got to really, I'm like vacuuming now. I'm like changing the laundry over, and I'm making dinner. I'm like, wait a minute, I got 9 jobs, and I just added this one to the mix. So I made a big pot of turkey bolognese, and then I got some. My wife brought home like a pound of shaved ribeye, like thinly sliced ribeye from Trader Joe's. So I went outside. I got my cast iron skillet nice and hot, and I just seared the bejesus out of it. So he's just literally eating a bowl of meat. He's in a protein and stuff, lifting weights, all that stuff. So,
Jeff Joniak brought up the fact that you have Mauro Provisions, the food order business. Mm-hmm. So luckily enough, we got the Italian beef kit. Mm-hmm. You know what was cool about that is I've probably eaten 1,000 Italian beefs in my life through all the different spots in my travels in the Chicagoland area. But I got to say, the most exciting thing about getting an order from you is the fact that, you get a sandwich at a place and you always want more meat on it, or you wish I could stand behind the counter and make it like I want to. It was the first time, Jeff, that I sat at the stove and I got to make the Italian beef sandwiches like I wanted. And one of the hints that you put on the way to go about it is to take the oil from either the Honey G or the giardiniera and put it on the bun before you toast it. Mm-hmm. First time I've ever done that. But I think the most exciting thing about it was being able to put as much on it as you wanted to, rather than having someone behind a counter and make it the way they want to.
Well, especially in these times when there's a ton of shrinkflation, you can basically double, triple meat your sandwich. You'll still have plenty for, 5 more sandwiches. That's the beauty of the kits. But I mean, I'm so proud of it. I mean, it was such a labor of love to developing this, but we made it great, and we made it as familiar as your favorite beef at any beef stand. This is not like you got the tubs you can go get at the grocery store frozen, and it comes in the gravy, and it's like by the time you heat it up, it's just like a mess, right? And it's all overcooked. Like if you follow my instructions, you are going to have the best beef of your life. And it's the instructions, as you know, Tom, like you did it. I'm looking at you. I'm like, how the hell did this guy make a beef, with those hands, with those mitts of his? But no, anybody can do it. And we're 5 years. Mauro Provisions will be in business 5 years this August. And, there's no stopping. I'm not stopping until everybody in the United States of America has a chance to eat an Italian beef sandwich topped with my Kraft giardiniera.
Yeah.
Because most people still don't know what the heck it is,
Jeff, the Honey G, I mean, insane. It's a whole different taste than giardiniera. And it's just, I've been putting on a turkey sandwiches and everything. It is insane.
I get the sense I might be throwing that in some eggs too, just to spice it up a little bit.
I do it almost every morning. You make a little scrambled eggs, or even like on a sunny side up on some toast or avocado toast or a bagel and cream cheese. Like our Honey G is like our most proprietary thing I kind of crafted and invented. And that's our medium spiced kind of pepper forward giardiniera. It's not super spicy, but it's packed in grade A honey. So you get all the vibe, the funk of giardiniera, but it's got that super slick sweetness to it that people, obviously sweet heat. I didn't invent that flavor combination, but it goes so well on everything. Like you said, mix in a little mayo, put on your turkey sandwich. It's bananas.
And you're working with the Stefani Restaurant Group. And as you told us before, your dad grew up with Phil Stefani.
Yep. Yeah. They used to plan trips to make a little extra scratch in college. And that's actually where my mom and my father met. Was on one of those trips to Spain, and my dad pretended to be a Spaniard because he had a mustache, and he obviously had way more game than I did growing up. But yeah. So him and Phil are close, and now you can get our Mauro beefs at all their Stefani Bottega locations, as well as Lollapalooza this year. So maybe that's our end. I don't think Pearl Jam's playing. I think that would be, I don't know, much. It's like this younger crowd, I think, these days at Lollapalooza. Half the artists I don't even know who the heck are.
And why sandwiches? Why has that become your thing?
Because it's professionally, that's what I did most of my life from the time I was 14 to, I made it on Food Network. I was always a deli guy. I had a deli in the early 2000s with my cousin Dave for 4 years. And then, when I went to culinary school, I learned about culinary as a whole, obviously French trained, as most culinary schools are. And then I applied all that to making more sandwiches by the time I got out of school. So for me, it's every culture, continent, country has a version of a sandwich. So it resonates across the globe. It was what I enjoyed eating more than anything currently and growing up. And I feel like people are so passionate about just talk like you right now, it's like pizza and sandwiches, right? Like people who talks about like chicken salad, like Caesar's, like a chopped salad, right? Like who talks to me about pasta even, right? These things of this nature don't have such like people have a connection to sandwiches, and they just, I go on the street and people just want to tell me their favorite sandwich and their recommendations. Whether I'm in a city, you got to go here, you got to go there, so it just connects with people. So.
I got to ask you this real quick. What's the most important thing in the sandwich? Is it the bread or is it the meat? Because that's what I got to know.
Same question written down.
Tom, you guys, that's why you guys do what you do. Yeah, to me, it's the bread. As important as the meat are, the foundation and the roof of the sandwich, right? The basement and the top and the roof. It doesn't matter what's in the middle. If you start with subpar bread, stale bread, or bread that maybe is subpar that you didn't treat with a little love, with a little bit of butter and a little griddle, heat up a little painting in giardiniera oil and a quick toast in a 375-degree oven for 3.5 minutes, right? Just to reactivate it. Then it doesn't matter. You can have A5 Wagyu beef in the middle and some foie gras and a lobster tail and all these indulgent, special, high-end ingredients in the middle, and you're still going to have a bad experience. Like, that's why people to me, like, that's the greatest thing. Like, I go out and I'm like, people are like, you got to try this burger. And I travel and I'm like, why don't you just touch the bread? Just a little fat, little oil, put it on the griddle for 30 seconds. This experience would have been so much better. And that's just kind of been my goal. Is just make sandwiches better. And it all starts with the bread, unfortunately. You can't skip out on that.
Well, Jeff, first time advice, because I've never had a lobster roll. And I know Jeff Joniak went to the East Coast and stood in line for almost 2 hours for one. So a local grocery store, they had lobster tails on sale for 4th of July. And I went and read the recipe and everything. And I made lobster rolls for the first time in my life this weekend for my brother, his wife, and myself. Is there any first time advice if you're reading a recipe or creating a sandwich or anything that you from your experiences?
I think when you read a recipe, you got to literally read the whole recipe through first and kind of figure out what you need to do and figure out the timing. I'm guilty of it, maybe just because I've written so many recipes. I'll just open up a recipe and I'll just start cooking. I'll heat up a pan. I'll be like, all right, we'll do this bit by bit. But it's wiser to read the whole thing. And then secondly, work out your mise en place, which is kind of prepping all your, it's a French word, it's a culinary term, means everything in its place. You have your carrots diced ready to go. You have your onion diced ready to go. You have all your seasonings out ready. Anything that's measured out, you do ahead of time before you even click on the heat. That way you kind of can ensure that you're moving with purpose and you're cooking with speed and precision, right? And you're not scrambling for something while something's burning on the stovetop, right? You're like, because what if you're like, all right, it's time to sear the chicken breast, but then you got to dice this pepper after you flip the chicken breast, but the pepper's not diced. So then, then everything's out of sync. So always have kind of everything in its place before you start the recipe. That's how I think that's what separates, the pros from the schmoes.
I did wait in long. It was more than 2 hours in Maine, outside of Camden, Maine, for what they said you had to have. And I was in the line so long, I'm thinking, how different can it be? but it was a pound and a half of lobster.
Oh.
And it was something, but it was gone. I waited for 3 hours and ate it in 30 seconds. That's what it felt like anyway.
Time is money.
Yeah, time is money.
How much is your time worth?
Exactly. I don't know that I could do that again. Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffels is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears and now open in Orland Park. Steinhoffels is Chicagoland's furniture and mattress leader with the largest selection to fit every style and budget and is 100% employee owned. Shop in store and online at steinhoffels.com. I cut you off, Big Jeff. What do you got?
Oh, I love furniture. That's my second. I was going to be the furniture king, but just the the overhead was too high. I love a lobster roll, right? I think the beauty of a lobster roll is in two things, right? How that split top New England style bun is buttered and griddled, golden brown, right? I'm assuming where you went and waited in line, it wasn't just on like a brioche bun, right? It was like this beautifully treated thing that that is enveloped in lobster meat. And then it comes onto the lobster meat. It's got to be that right texture because it can get a little rubbery or it can get like underdone. It's like the lobster has to melt in your mouth, have a little snap to it. But not too much butter, not too much mayonnaise, not too much like herbs that they put in it. Sometimes people do chives or tarragon or something. Like it's just got to be lobster and buttered bread, basically, and a little cream base to take it home.
Jeff, one more Bears question. So 40 years this year is going to be the anniversary of the Super Bowl. So when you take the Super Bowl shuffle and you take the actual team, is there anything that you gravitated towards the team itself, or did you enjoy the Super Bowl shuffle, or where did that fall into your life?
Huge. It was, come on. I'm a performer from a family of performers. We all had our separate parts. And I remember my family had a pizza, quite a hopping late night spot pizza place restaurant called Tilly's. That was Western Springs, right down like when there was nothing there. And I remember they had I'm dating myself, but they had a light up dance floor, like a disco dance floor. And I remember being there with all my cousins doing the Super Bowl shuffle over the PA, and we all had our lip sync parts and I was always a mama's boy, Otis, one of a kind. The ladies all love me for my body and my mind. And I was like, 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid, banging that verse out. So yeah, I still have the tape. It's upstairs. The VHS tape that I didn't lose.
What about the team itself? Because there's so much that focuses on the defense of the team, but then you had Jim McMahon, you had Walter Payton, and that crew as well. Do you remember anything unique about the team, or were you just a fan because of the dominance of that team?
I think it was the collective dominance of the team. But it was the last time I knew, majority of the players on a team. As an adult and everything, but to be that young and to have a connection to majority of the whole squad, it was a unique moment, and I was just young enough to remember so much of that, but also to kind of plant those seeds and carry it through to my adult age here. I was, I think 8 years old, 7 years old during that time. And it was, I was so glad I wasn't like 20 back then, like you, Tom, right? No, how old were you back then? I know you were a baby.
23.
I didn't know.
that jersey behind me is the jersey I wore in the game.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
You're still gonna hold on? You could probably look at it looks almost like, I'm looking at that jersey. It almost looks like a diaper bottom on that.
It's funny you bring that up because Tom will pull it off the wall and show you, because he does this to the current players and they cannot believe that he was forced to wear this particular jersey. Tommy, tell him what it is.
It's like a tuck-in thing, it's a
onesie where it comes underneath your crotch and then it buttons right into your waistline.
Yes,
and
you never have to worry about untucking.
Exactly, and you never got grabbed by a defensive lineman trying to rip and grab and set guys free.
Bifurcate your satchel there.
Right.
Can you imagine right up the crack and right up the front? That's precarious.
Listen, if you ever have a music gig and you want to wear it, and, maybe a little warm out or a summer festival, all yours, buddy.
Oh, my God. I knew it. I saw that. I was like, something's off. But also, You see, it makes a lot of sense.
Well,
I guess you get grabbed.
He was such a big guy, too. It's funny when you see him in uniform in pictures because it doesn't look like the numbers are actually, they look like they've been painted on as opposed to stitched on because he's so huge, they're a little off. They're the 5 and the 7 are a little off and they're stretched to the max. Hey, we're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears. And you are a uniform guy. You've gotten jerseys and you didn't exactly know where they were until recently. 4 custom Chicago sports jerseys 6 years ago, recently recovered. We discussed this the last time. How thrilled are you that they found them?
They are they're proudly on my wall in my office right now. I search for these things, which I got over the years by throwing out the first pitch or doing shoot the puck for the Blackhawks or throwing out the first pitch again at Sox and Cubs. So I had 4 of these jerseys that meant a lot to me, that had my name on it, that were gifted to me by the teams. And as a lifelong Chicagoan sports fan, I mean, this is great. I wanted these for the rest of my life. They were on the wall at my now gone, closed restaurant, Pork and Mindy's, which was in Wicker Park, which had a good run, but, kind of closed over the cover of night. And I couldn't get back in there due to, some debts that were due. As listen, I was just the guy. I just made the menu and try to make the food, but I misplaced them. I couldn't get back in there. So I kind of had this light search for a while. Right after it happened, I asked around, nothing happened. And then I waited a couple years. And then I did a Reddit post, which kind of got a lot of traction, asking people around Chicagoland, being like, hey, has anybody seen these? They're literally one of a kind, and there's 4 of them. I don't know why anybody would want my jersey that were professionally framed. As you know, Tom, I mean, you didn't even spring for a professional framing of that classic jersey onesie right there. It's hanging off a dry cleaning hanger on your brick facade going down the stairs in the basement, right? So it's like to frame the jersey, it costs like $1,200.
Right.
So I wanted these things back. I wanted them. They were up in the restaurant because I was proud of them. I wanted them back. And it took well over a year, and then I got a call out of the blue, and there was a lawyer who worked on the bankruptcy, worked on the liquidation of the restaurant equipment and everything in the restaurant, which is, a robust business, evidently. I should have gotten that instead of the restaurant business. I'd be riding high. And he's like, I got these. I don't want to be on film. I don't want anybody to know who I am, but they're all yours. They've been laying up against a conference wall in a random office here in downtown in the Loop. And just my receptionist is a fan, evidently. I don't know who you are, but these are your jerseys. She's like, I think this guy's looking for his jerseys. So he gave me a call, and I was there a couple days later, stuffing them into my, reasonably sized hatchback.
There's one missing on there. We got to help you out on that one. Are aches, pains, or injuries keeping you on the sidelines? Athletico's movement experts are here to help you turn your setbacks into comebacks like Jeff Mauro and create a personalized game plan for your recovery. With no prescription or referral needed, Athletico's physical therapy is where your comeback story begins. Athletico, proud to be the official physical therapy partner of the Chicago Bears. Big Tom?
Jeff, we're all Chicago guys, all of us. So when you look at how you distribute your fandomonium to the Chicago sports teams, because you talk about your jerseys in reference to all your experiences you had, but when you grow up in Joliet, you kind of grow up a Sox fan. But when you look at the excitement the Cubs have provided in recent history, you're kind of a fan of everybody. We got the Bulls and Michael Jordan. We got the Blackhawks and their success. The Bears we talk about. How do you distribute your fandomonium? Because I know you said that you're only live watching is the Bears games on Sunday. But are you a Cubs fan? Are you a Sox fan? And how do you go?
I was raised a Sox fan. My dad was from Taylor Street area, which skews a little farther south than it does north. And we only went to Sox games growing up. So much so that I went to the last game at the old Comiskey, and I went to the first game at the new Sox Park. So, and that was, again, during the years where that was the Frank Thomas era, and we were obsessed. I mean, I loved I'd open up the Tribune every morning and look at the stats and check out the record. And I was so into the granular aspect of baseball, so much so that, we'd go to 12, 13 games a year. It was fabulous. So yes. So much so, Tom, that I despised the Cubs. Like, just because, it was either like my friends were all Cubs fans and I was the only Sox fan, and we were kind of like the dirtier, grittier, right? And all my friends were kind of from somewhere else that I went to school with. They weren't like third generation Chicagoan, and my parents were city people, and I lived in the city till I was 11. And, I had this I was like, I'm so proud of that the Sox were this South Side team that was gritty. And for the true ones, not this sunny, somewhat, I would always skew the Cubs fans as like a little more preppy, you know what I mean? And like where the Sox were getting, disco demolition, getting into fights at the stadium, jumping over the wall. And I know this was all like in the mind of like, a teenager or preteen, but some of that kind of still holds true to me, where I'm always secretly rooting for Sox.
Winner of the 7th season of Food Network Star. How big was that, Jeff?
Oh, God. I mean, come on. Like, I tried out for that 4 times till I finally made it on. So it was a journey just getting on that show, which to me was, a clear path to getting my own, show with my point of view on the network. Always being a performer, always a comedian, comic. I did every style of performance possible, but I always kind of cooked to make a living. So how do I kind of intersect those two things on a large scale? And that's Food Network. So to get on Food Network Star was a journey. Then I had to win it, and I was gone for 2 months. I mean, no contact with my family. I mean, one phone call every 10 days. That was like 10 minutes timed in videotape. So my wife would be like, how's it going? I'm like, I can't talk. She's like, and she just, chew my ear off for 10 minutes, telling me everything that was going wrong in the house, The washer broke. My mom fell, dislocated her elbow, shoveling. So I'm like, it was a heck of a journey, but I'm so glad I won it because it was transformative. I mean, it wasn't an overnight thing. I know people are like, your life changed overnight. And I go, I kind of orchestrated my entire life to get to this moment. So for me, it's been this kind of slog, this uphill grind. So when it finally happened, I was so ready that it was like, I mentally prepared for it. But the irony is that by the time the cast list and the press release came out for season 7 of Food Network Star, my season, I not only already knew I won the show, like before anybody knew I was on the show, but I also filmed my entire first season of Sandwich King. Oh my gosh. When everybody was like, where have you been? Or where'd you go for 2 months? And they held my job. I was the private chef at Guaranteed Rate, or now rate.com or whatever, for 4 years. And I fed 250 people a day. And they were all like, where did you go for 2 months? Everybody thought I either went to rehab or jail. So you could go, goes to show how my reputation was. But I came back, and then people were like, where'd you go? And I'm like, you'll see. I went and learned how to make salami with Mario Batali. That was my big lie that I thought would kind of throw them off. I didn't want to get sued. We had a heck of an NDA that we signed. Obviously, then they didn't want the story to leak. So I knew in my heart, so deep down, like that this was my journey. This was meant to be. But by the time I even won it, I couldn't share it with anybody for months. It was wild. Like, I held the secret in. So I'm like sitting there slicing meat in the morning, and people are like, well, you have no idea. Well, I got to, not only did I win this silly show, but I made my own first season, and that was almost 15 years ago.
Where was it filmed at?
It started in Los Angeles.
Right.
We lived in a house in the hills with 14 other people, sleeping on bunk beds from IKEA with sub twin mattresses. I'm telling you, like smaller than twins, and like not even military mattresses. I'm talking prison mattresses, about 2 inches thick. And it was like, I'm like, what? Cold water. It was crazy. That was like the heyday of reality. They really tried to milk the contestants, right? Emotion out and get them to cry and break down. And it wasn't about like lifting their spirits and making them into a star. It was like, how do we have the best reality TV here? Non-scripted, fights within the, they just egged us on to no end. And I'm like, I need to just get through this, because I know I have kind of the baseline knowledge, experience, and talent to get me through. I just can't get homesick and get too far, get too emotional that way, and just focus on it. So, and then we went to New York for like 4 weeks at the end. It was crazy. Like, my wife's like, I call her. I'm like, you mean they didn't even tell that my husband got on a plane and went transcontinental? Like, they didn't know that. My son was barely 2 at the time, so he had no idea where daddy went. How do you explain to a 1.5-year-old that daddy's going to film a, reality show competition? It was wild. Like, again, I wouldn't give up the experience for the world. But it was definitely a means to an end that I would never repeat. And it's not for everybody. It's not.
Sound like 2 days under Ditka, Tommy.
Right. That's what I was trying to analogize in my head what that would be like.
Honestly, that's something else. Good news, Chicago. United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears. And you too.
Get my sandwiches on United on their Bistro on Board menu. We have a breakfast sandwich currently. Going till August, and then August it'll be my pepperoni pizza melt for all flights over 1,190 miles on the Bistro on Board menu.
Interesting. That's outstanding. Your success is amazing, but I have one in today's environment. When you did $24 in 24 hours, 3 meals in 24 various cities, Boston, Chicago included, could you do that today?
No,
with today's economy.
Thanks for bringing up that show that was canceled about 11 years ago, Jeff.
I just find it fascinating. How could he do this? How could he do it?
That was the biggest problem with this show. The math was incomprehensible. It was 3 meals and a snack. For 24 hours with tip. And it was like, people were like, this is BS. Nobody believes that. Everybody was like, how do you even do that? It was a fun show. It was very difficult to shoot. But that was 12 years ago, 13 years ago. With inflation plus the economy, plus
$50.
everything.
How about 50 and 24?
No,
doesn't have a good ring
way.
to it. No way.
Can you
exactly.
do 50? Even if you go to Cleveland, if you go to small town America, if you go anywhere, $50 will not buy you 3 meals. Not a chance.
No, you're
maybe
exactly
if you go
right.
to like Aldi's or Trader Joe's and you buy stuff, $48 of stuff, and then maybe make 3 meals. And that won't even feed 2 people 3 meals.
Tom could pull it off though, because Tom is, if nothing else, a minimalist. He can make it work. Yes, he is.
I grew up with Depression era mom and dad, so we lived as cheap as possible.
Well, Jeff,
I don't mind it.
Listen, man, this has been enjoyable again.
Yes,
we could talk forever. You got a special gift, brother. Here's it. Here, let me rephrase it. You got special gifts. You're multi-talented. We wish you nothing but continued success. Thanks again for everything you do for Mauro Provisions, and thanks for the grub. I can't wait to dig into it, and hope you enjoy this Bears season, man. It's going to be fun.
Can't wait. It's going to be a big one. We got a lot of things to look forward to. And if you're curious, you want to try our giardiniera or rubs, whatever, we're now in Jewel, Fresh Time, Pete's Fresh Market. So you can find us in all Jewels or at mauroprovisions.com. And the Jewel Bags are playing the Festa Italiana on Saturday night, the Taylor Street Festival. So if you're in the city, you're going to Festa Italiana, come see my 11-piece band, bang it out in front of thousands, hopefully.
Yes, get there. That sounds fantastic. A special thanks to our guest, the Food Network's Jeff Mauro of Mauro Provisions. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.